Yeah, I mean, we have that, Sheila, where people don't cooperate, and then they get obstruction. The offense for obstruction can be pretty severe.
I have some terrible news to share with you today. We have been trying to work quietly to get ourselves out of the trouble that we're facing, but it's become clear in recent days. We can't do this quietly anymore, and we cannot do this alone. I need your help now. NDP-appointed holdovers in the Alberta government are coming for me because I wrote a best-selling book that hurt Rachel Notley's feelings. I'm potentially facing tens of thousands of dollars in fines and what the government officer involved calls severe consequences, but the biggest threat is to freedom of the press for all of us. Let me explain this mess. We have to go back a few months to the very beginning. This video is long, but I have to tell you the whole story, and I have to show you the proof of what's happening, or you just would not believe it. Back in April, we received a letter from Alberta's Elections Commissioner. That entire bureaucracy is a recent creation of the NDP, and it was weaponized against Notley's conservative critics. They have come after us about billboards critical of the NDP on 2 separate occasions in the past, and they lost. This new threat letter in April came from the Elections Commissioner, Lauren Gibson, and it was addressed to me, but it was sent to our Toronto office. So the Alberta election was over. Jason Kenney was the new premier. But Notley's hand-picked enforcer was still on the job, and he still is today. He said he was opening an investigation after complaints about lawn signs promoting my best-selling book. Here's part of his letter. We will be seeking your answers to a number of questions, including the following. What was the basis upon which you determined the selling price of the Stop Notley book? What was the date you began to make this book available to the public? Was the availability of the Stop Notley book to the public timed to occur with the 2019 provincial election campaign, or was the book planned to be made available to the public regardless of whether there was an election or not? What is the estimated cost of the Stop Notley advertising book promotion campaign? What is the contact information for the company that published the Stop Notley book and the company that designed, produced, and distributed the Stop Notley signs? Gibson said he would be contacting me for an interview, or to put it another way, I'd be interrogated by the government about a book I wrote about the government. Now, his letter didn't even tell me who's under investigation or for what. Is it me or the publisher of my book? Who's in trouble here? Is it for the book or the lawn signs promoting the book? And really, it doesn't matter anyway, or it shouldn't, because we have a free press in Canada. And here is the elections law that specifically exempts books. Section 44D2 reads, elections advertising does not include the distribution of a book or the promotion of the sale of a book for no less than its commercial value if the book was planned to be made available to the public regardless of whether there was to be an election. Apparently, even Alberta's draconian elections censorship law recognizes the importance of a free press. And of course, we lawyered my book up and down before we published it. In fact, legal fees are one of the largest expenses here at The Rebel. So I first emailed Stephen Kay, the investigator noted in the letter. And I said this, Dear Mr. Kay, I am a journalist and author. In my view, your investigation of me is legally inappropriate and contrary to Canada's constitutional freedoms, especially freedom of expression. Your decision to keep these complaints against me a secret is inappropriate if they really do exist. By keeping them secret, you stop me from knowing the details of the case against me and from making a proper response. You still haven't been clear about why I'm being investigated. Perhaps the complaints would also shed light on that. Your email says the complaints are about the signs which marketed my book, but most of the questions in your letter ask about the Stop Notley book itself. Are you investigating me for the book or the signs which brought it to the attention of the public? Am I personally being investigated for not registering as a third party? You still haven't actually told me what I've allegedly done. And that's when another investigator tasked with the file, a former city cop named Ken Brander, emailed me saying he would answer my questions in a phone call. So I called Brander and recorded the call because Not only am I a journalist, but I need to protect myself in case I am actually the target of this investigation because they wouldn't tell me. Here, I'd like to play some excerpts from that conversation for you. Right away, this investigator said he wasn't interested in my book, just the lawn signs, which I had nothing to do with. That was my publisher's idea, which I loved, but I'm just the book's author.
I'll be able to tell you what the gist of the complaints are.
It
just has to do with advertising. People see the lawn signs and they go, "Oh, that lawn sign looks just like the political lawn sign. So this person must be doing political advertising." So the complaints are all about the lawn signs and if they're political advertising or if they're not.
So if the book was fine, then why was he calling me the author? And he repeated that again. He claimed he wasn't investigating me. Am I personally being investigated for not registering as a third party?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, it's just the signs themselves.
But then after telling me he wasn't investigating my book, he started investigating my book. Why did I write it when I wrote it? Pretty dumb question. It's a political book in an election year. But why was he grilling me, an author and journalist?
There's something about the timing of the book. So, I'd be looking for just a little bit of background information on like when was the book written, when was it going to be published, or was it like a last minute thing, like, that type of thing.
At the end of the call, he said he was 90% sure the book was fine, but he still had a lot of questions for me. I guess to be clear, what is it that I have alleged to have done that would break the law?
Well, it's alleged that the sign associated to the book, or it's alleged that lawn sign is election advertising. So for me, the elements that I have to show are that either yes, it is election advertising, or no, it's not election advertising. If it's not election advertising, then it's case closed. If it is election advertising, then the investigation has to continue to see, who's putting it out. Are they registered as a third-party advertiser, or are they not? But the first hurdle is the first element to determine is whether it's election advertising or not. At this point, I'm 90% sure that it's not election advertising.
I ended that call by telling him the name of the media freedom lawyer I have, Fred Kozak, who helped me fight back when Rachel Notley illegally banned me from the legislature a few years ago.
Yeah, could you share your counsel's name just so I know?
Oh, yes, it's Fred Kozak.
Fred Kozak? Oh,
yes,
okay.
From Reynolds, Mirth, Richards, and Farmer. I was still unclear, though. Is Brander investigating me as an author or my publisher? Especially since Brander has never contacted my publisher for any of the details he was asking me about. And why does he keep asking me about the book if he's not investigating the book? So I called him a second time.
The reason I'm phoning you is I understand that you're the author of the book. So the questions that I have answers to, those final elements that I have to address in the exemption, I believe you probably have the answers to those questions. So at this point, there's no particular person under investigation, like no suspect, to use a police term.
Is it normal in a free country for the government to hire investigators to interrogate authors of books that criticize the government? It is not. So I asked Brander what would happen if I refused to answer. I'm going to play a 2-minute clip of his answer. It's absolutely terrifying. Listen to what he says he'll do to me if I don't answer all of his questions about why I wrote my Rachel Notley book. You've asked me to come by and answer your questions. Now, if I don't do that, can you order me to answer with a summons or something like that, like a subpoena?
You want a subpoena?
No, I'm just asking you, like if I don't come by and answer your questions about my book, what happens then? Will you issue me a summons?
Well, is there a reason that you don't want to clear this up?
That wasn't really my, it's not that I don't want to clear this up at all. I'm just curious, what happens if I don't come by?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of, authorities for the election commissioner to, to not compel, but there are the word is consequences for people that, that don't provide the information and that type of thing. So, I mean, if you carry it through to its logical conclusion, yeah, I mean, there's production orders, there's all kinds of things there's all kinds of tools that can be done, but they're all fairly extreme. And, when we do those things, we can do those types of things, but it's, in this case, I really think that we can just kind of clear this up pretty quickly. Just with the conversation, and there's documents you can show me about, this is when, if there's a book deal, this is when it was signed, this is when it was planned to be, this is kind of when we think it might hit the market, be available for the public, when those first plans started to be made, that type of thing. Just a little bit of background about that.
So hang on, again and again, he's told me he's not investigating the book, but he's demanding that I, as the author, agree to be interrogated. And he wants editorial information about the book's plans, any briefing notes, and even editorial emails. Just listen.
The area that I can't tick off yet is just the part about the planning of when it was to be made available. And I'm going to see that through things like, either a contract or some type of briefing note or, a schedule or, emails or something like that saying, yeah, this is when I'm starting, or even a statement from you. This is when I started writing the book. This is when, it was planned to be, the season or whatever, when we were thinking of releasing the book, whatever.
And just in case he wasn't clear, he tells me that if I don't hand over my editorial notes, the consequences will be severe.
Yeah, I mean, we have that, Sheila, where people don't cooperate and then they get obstruction. The offense for obstruction can be pretty severe. I hope rather it not come to that. I think it's something that we can be cleared up pretty easily.
He says it one more time. I'm an author, and he needs my email records.
A statement would be good, like a written statement, but if you have any types of email records or anything like that, I think that would probably be get me where I need to be.
The government of Alberta has hired an ex-cop, two actually, to investigate a journalist for writing a book in Canada in 2019, not 1984. We've been quietly fighting against this for 3 months at great expense. And we thought we had scared them off, but then last week, I got a call from Brander, the investigator. I'll play it for you. It's a threat. Either I give him all of my editorial records now, or he prosecutes me. Here.
Just calling you about this outstanding matter that we have under investigation. I'm just kind of, still kind of waiting confirmation from you that you're going to participate in this investigation. There are some documents that we require. It is a lawful request for those documents. We expect that you'll comply. Like I said, I think we're pretty close to being able to conclude the matter, but those documents that we're waiting for, and I can't conclude the matter until we review those documents. So, I'll send you a follow-up email, but we're kind of getting to the point now where we've asked many times, we've sent emails requesting, we've had conversations about it. I'm satisfied that you know what it is that I'm asking for. So I'm hoping that you'll participate, and we can. I think if you participate and provide the documents requesting, I think we can wrap this up. But I can't conclude it until you participate. You can call me when you get a chance, please, Sheila, and get back to me and let me know what your intentions are. Thanks very much. Bye.
And in case that wasn't threatening enough, he immediately sent a letter demanding the same thing. He knows I have a lawyer, and he knows my lawyer's name, but he's contacting me directly. Here's the latest email. We have shared a number of phone calls together, and we have discussed this investigation. I have been expecting to hear from you and for you to provide the documentation I requested. I would like to conclude this matter, however, I cannot without your participation and the documents I require. And now, here's the threat. There is a provision, Section 45 in the Elections, Finance, and Contribution Disclosure Act, which creates an offense for withholding documents. Please have a look at that provision, Sheila. It is a serious offense. Our office has been asking for these documents and records for several months now. You have not provided them and have not provided a reason why. This is becoming a concern. I'm a journalist who criticized the government, and now the government is demanding my private notes, saying I'll be prosecuted for a serious offense if I don't hand them over. And it gets worse. In the kangaroo court of the election commissioner, I don't have a right not to testify against myself like any other Canadian in legal jeopardy. I don't even have the same rights as a murderer to remain silent in this investigation. I can be compelled to offer evidence against myself and forced to hand over my notes. I want you to know that I've spoken to my family a lot about the possibility of being prosecuted. And of course, I've spoken to Ezra, and like with everything that troubles me, I've prayed on this. And we all agree that if that's what it comes down to, prosecutions and serious fines or bending a knee to the state on the issue of free speech, then I won't be complying with any demand from the state to produce documents about why and when I wrote a book that is critical of the government of the day. I'll do what I have to do, but I won't back down, and I'm not giving in. They are not getting a single thing out of me. This is a free country with a constitution that protects me. And unfortunately for the Elections Commission, Albertans have a long tradition of civil disobedience against bad laws, from those who refused to register their grandpa's guns when the Liberals told them to Western farmers who were jailed by the Liberals for selling their own wheat. I also want to assure you that I have the full support of the entire Rebel team behind me. I want to be completely transparent now with you. We have already spent $32,000 in legal fees fighting this up till now, and we just received another bill for $16,000. So all told, we're $48,000 deep in legal fees to fight for my free speech and my right to give you information about the government that the government doesn't want you to have. That's a huge legal bill, but we have the best free speech lawyer in Alberta. And we will win if we can see this through till the end. The trouble is, unlike the Elections Commissioner, we don't have bottomless pockets constantly refilled by the taxpayer to go around bullying people. We're crowdfunded by people like you. We fight on, I fight on, because people like you want me to. I'm going public with this today after a 3-month fight because they're coming for me now. I need your help now more than ever. I need your support. I need your help to offset our ballooning legal bills. Can you help me? You can do that at savesheila.com. And please share this video so the whole world knows what Rachel Notley's swamp is still trying to do to freedom of the press in Alberta. But I'm also calling on my friends, my colleagues, my frenemies, and even my enemies in the rest of the media. Now's your time to stand up and be counted. Do you stand for free speech? Do you stand for a free press? Or do you stand aside and say nothing because you don't like me or my boss more than you like being able to say what you want to say when you want to say it without Big Brother weighing in? Is the Edmonton Journal the same one that won a Pulitzer Prize for their fight for the free press against the Aberhart government? Or are they just government pets here in 2019? I promise everyone today, we are going to resist every single attempt to bully, interrogate, and intimidate me every step of the way. And when we are done with these people, and when we do win, it's my hope that Rachel Notley's terrible law will be struck down, and the office of the Elections Commissioner, as we know it, will be no more. If you can help me with this very important fight, please go to savesheila.com. The government of Alberta wants to interrogate me about a book I wrote that is critical of the government, and Investigator wants me to turn over my private editorial emails about my book. They're now threatening to prosecute me and levy fines against me for not complying, but I'm not backing down. To help me in my fight for the free press, go to savesheila.com.